As I said, good morning to this morning's webinar. My name is Matthias. I'm the business representative here at Pur-Logic Solutions, and I'll be your host for this morning. Before we do start, I do want to thank everyone for taking the time out of your busy day to be here with us. We're really excited to have you. And as mentioned in the invitation, today's webinar will be focused on Pur-Logic's newest partner, Spire Systems, and their fabulous alternative to business solutions, or BV, as you may know it. So just a little housekeeping. If you have any questions, feel free to type it in the box on the right side at any time. This webinar is being recorded, and so you will receive a copy of the recording in a few days for your own use. And that's it. Enjoy the webinar. I'm just going to go over a little bit of what we're going to be discussing today. So first, we're just going to have a quick, brief introduction on who we are here at Pur-Logic. I'll have one of the partners talk a little bit about us, and then we'll have a brief introduction on Spire, as well as a short demo of what they have. And lastly, for those of you who do have questions, we'll take them up at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to one of the partners here, Faye Salmonson. Alrighty, Faye, you're on.
All right, thank you. I want to thank everybody for joining today. As most of you know, Pur-Logic is your partner of record at Sage in regards to your business vision. Business vision, as you know, and all of us who have come up through 25 years of business vision, we've grown to know and love business vision. But as with everything else in the world, things do change. And with the onset of, digital transformation, things like EFT, e-commerce, EDI, those are areas business vision isn't doing any more development anymore. They are obviously providing you with an annual license and payroll tax tables if you use them. But development has stopped, and we all need to move and adapt. And I think you're going to find Spire. You're going to see a lot of things that are very, very familiar to you. So that learning curve is not a big learning curve, and a lot of things that you're going to love in the new future features that you would be able to take advantage of. Our team will be there to support you through the change of moving, should we decide to go from business vision over to Spire. We're obviously certified in the Spire product, and 3 of us here on our team are long time, I hate to say how many years, 20 years certified BV techs. So we know what the challenges are, but that it's really a relatively smooth transition to go from business vision up to the Spire product. So on that note, I am actually going to hand it over to Katie Griffin from Spire, who's going to take you through this, introduce you to Spire, and then take you through the Spire product.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Faye, for having me here, and Matthias, thank you as well. It's great to be here. I am Katie Griffin. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Spire. Just a little brief about myself. I have been in the accounting software industry for about 20 years, working with businesses who are looking for a new solution, really understanding why they're moving from a different product that they might be using. I've had the great experience of working with certified authorized partners like the folks at Pur-Logic as well, and it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about Spire. I'm just going to go ahead and make myself visible here. I believe that everyone can see my screen. Introduction to Spire. Matthias, is that good for you?
That
Yeah,
is
awesome.
good for me, yes.
Awesome, thank you so much. So I'll start a little bit with who we are. We at Spire Systems are a Canadian-based company with our headquarters in Langley, British Columbia. While many of us do work remotely nowadays, our head office is there out in BC, and we do have some great teammates that are there as well. Our history, just so you know, I think it's important to point out that Our founding partners, Mr. Al Romaine and Mr. Peter Reimer, were once upon a time BV consultants as well. So very much like your friends at Pur-Logic, these guys were helping businesses throughout the BC area with their BV for a long time. When that was announced that it was no longer going to be developed, these fine folks created Spire essentially, and we're now in our 10th year at Spire. So happy anniversary to us. And I think it's important to point out that they are industry veterans. We do have also a very great team at Spire that is progressive and forward thinking, and together we work with the channel of certified authorized partners. As Faye said, Pur-Logic is also a certified Spire consulting firm, and it's a pleasure to work with people with this expertise, because these products are not off-the-shelf products. They do require commitment, innovation, help with installation, process improvement, which is a lot more than what you just buy off the shelf these days. So that's a little bit about who we are. We continue to strive towards excellence and providing a great product for small to medium-sized businesses. So if you're a business vision user, some of these points might sound familiar to you. And there's no doubt, like Faye said, that BV has been tried, tested, and true. And if you're still running it, you're probably, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thinking. And that's great. In the software world, if you can find something that's going to be with you for 20 plus years, that's an amazing investment. But the pace of technology is changing, and it is changing rapidly. And so what some BV users have experienced, even with some of the more modern database structures that Sage has put out, like the Actian platform, it's still proving to be buggy. This is what BV users are telling me on a daily basis. Difficulty running on Windows. So not only is the technology antiquated, but the processes that go along with that also become antiquated and unreliable. Inaccurate inventory, unable to track expenses as at a granular level like you might like to, and really no visibility into KPI, key performance indicators, being able to forecast and be able to be prepared in order to meet needs in the supply chain, for example. So all of these different problems are what BV users are coming up to us with and have been actually for the last decade. There's a lot of information out there online, so feel free to take a look at that. But if you're suffering from any of these things, then you're in the right place today with our webinar. I thought I'd take a second to share with you what Spire clients look like. And while we're not industry specific, we do very well in particular industries, predominantly wholesale distribution, light manufacturing, service-based businesses. A lot of BV businesses were grassroots, owner-operator, and they make, sell, and service the products that they provide to their customers. So sometimes it's a combination of all three. But the thing that is very common is that we are scalable, regardless of what industry you're in. If you are growing either because of transactional volume, or you're growing because of inventory volume, or you're growing because of staff, or maybe you're succeeding your business to another generation, everyone's coming in and wanting to make sure that their systems are not breaking the bank. And that's something that rings true with Spire, is that it's an affordable product. And we'll get into a little bit about our pricing in just a minute, folks. And so if you're, relatively in any of these categories, I mean, I'll throw in telecommunications, I'll throw in property management as well. So again, not industry specific, but we do well in particular industries. Now, if you're coming to the end of your life in business vision and really considering it, you've actually got options out there. The days of BV, ACPAC Plus, and that was pretty much it, are no longer the case these days. There's a lot of competition out there and a lot of different products. Spire really fills a gap in that mid-market space. And so you're getting that BV functionality that you are so dependent on and so used to, with contemporary features like Faye talked about earlier, whether that's e-commerce, EFT, EDI, price management, reporting capabilities. These are more ERP-like features in the industry without that massive ERP commitment complexity or financial investment. So when you're shopping around, if you are considering something other than Spire, just know that that's where we are in the market. A lot of bang for your buck and a lot of great functionality. So I'll talk a little bit about what your options are with Spire, because even in the Sage world, most big publishing companies like Sage are pushing everybody towards one model. And that is either a SaaS model, a service as a software model, or a subscription model. And while most businesses like subscriptions because there's recurring revenue with that, it's not necessarily the way that everyone likes to buy or deploy their software. So in the Spire world, we have options. You have your classic on-premise LAN model where the Spire license is installed locally on your server, your workstations are patched into the network, and that data is flowing back and forth. So that is probably a model that you are familiar with as a BV user. We also have cloud hosting in the Spire world, and cloud hosting is not browser-based like a QuickBooks Online where you would launch your Google or your Chrome, Safari, whatever, and log into your account. This is a privately hosted environment that you do not share with any other corporation. It is your privately hosted environment that is available for you to access, and there's a small monthly fee to do that. What's important to point out here, folks, is that the on-premise and the cloud hosting are the same thing in the Spire world. It's the same software, unlike others where it's completely different in the cloud and on-premise. Spire is the same application regardless of where it lives. We also have browser-based apps. And this is really great for some of those sales road warriors that you might have on your team. Those who are out there visiting customers need to be able to place an order, need to be able to check inventory stock, need to be able to check on a customer, or sometimes we even have purchasers out on the road. So with Spire mobile apps, you can enter in orders, place purchase orders. You have access to customers, vendors, sales, purchase orders, and inventory. The accounting modules aren't there yet. Most of the time, the accounting department doesn't leave the office too often, so they don't need mobile apps and cloud could work. But in the case where you do have people on the road, browser-based apps are included in your software assurance. If you're a BV user, you're used to paying software assurance, like Faye said, just to maintain your tax table updates and your license. Well, with Spire, we cement other added values into your SA, not just upgrades and new features, but things like the browser-based apps and some really cool reporting tools as well. So you have options in how you deploy and use Spire in the Spire world. And then you also have options in terms of how you purchase Spire. Right? And so generally what you're looking at, and I'll just share a little bit of the pricing and then we'll dive into the demonstration for you. Spire is generally starting in the $7,500 range. That is to own the license. You own the product at that point. As I said, subscription is available as well, where you can have an on-premise version of Spire at a monthly fee. This has nothing to do with cloud, or you can have it cloud hosted as well. And we do have software assurance, as you're familiar with that concept already. But again, you do get a lot of value for that. I'm going to jump into the software now, and my good colleague, friend and colleague, Warren Flett, pre-prepared a recording for us here today. It's about 25 minutes or so. So go ahead and sit back, watch the demonstration. A lot will look familiar to you, I'm sure. And please go ahead and type in your questions in the question box while this is playing. I'll do my best to answer those for everyone. Matthias, we'll just turn off our cameras. Perfect. Awesome. We'll go ahead and play that.
Thanks, Katie, and hello everyone. I'm glad that you can take some time from your busy schedule to join us today. For my section of this webinar, I would like to provide a collection of demonstrations, starting with a tour through Spire that includes showing general features and a customer sales process, followed
Katie,
by their
sorry,
selected
I don't
key features.
think we can see the
In the time we have today,
demonstration.
let's take a dive into the Spire experience.
Your camera's still on, I believe. There we go.
Perhaps you are a sales entry person, taking customer orders. When you log into Spire, you can choose from any number of company databases to open, and are not limited to one company dataset per license. You may also choose to configure your accounting to include a location value that is included on sales and purchase orders, so that revenue and expense accounting can be tracked by location. After signing on, You may receive pop-up alerts regarding important information or transactions that have become due, assigned to you through communications. Not only can you see the alerts, but you can also view them to open additional external attachments or websites, or mark the task as completed, or open the related record and be taken directly to the record or transaction where the note was assigned. Notes that aren't yet due can still be seen and read from the Communications module, from either the entire list or narrowed down using predefined record filters to a more focused group of notes, such as those just for you today or this week or from a specific module. Outstanding notes for the company can be seen more visually from the Calendar module, where each communication appears as a link within the daily slot, and those assigned to each user display in different colors. You can use any of these notes access methods as your to-do list for the day or week and ensure that nothing gets missed, and mark off each job when done. If you regularly need to visit certain websites throughout the day, perhaps your company homepage or online ordering, or a cloud-based application for internal communications or email, a built-in Chromium browser can be used for accessing multiple websites simply by defining URLs either for the entire company or just for you. When you're ready to get to work, you can open the module you need to see the list of records or transactions such as customers, purchase orders, or sales orders in a grid. You can display the information in columns that's most important to you, or hide information that just gets in the way, and position columns to organize it all in the way you need. Then you can make modifications to anything you see, or create something new. While creating an order, typing into selection fields will prompt you with more choices than just codes that start with this, but also records that contain this in other key fields, to make it easier to find the record you want. After selecting the code, you may receive an alert warning you about a condition or scenario before you get too far into the entry. Data entry is expedited by the ability to add records directly within the grid, and use the keyboard to navigate throughout. Tab through the columns and make edits where necessary. Look up other codes using keyboard shortcuts, and choose them without having to use the mouse and slow you down. Include completing the line entry and start a new one. You can set up inventory items in different ways in order to make entry more efficient and reliable. Items can be configured with additional accessories that are always included so that they are not forgotten. Any items on sales orders that have a selling margin lower than a chosen minimum can be identified immediately, and perhaps the selling price be modified to solve the situation. Items can be defined as kits, which are in fact collections of other items sold together, that can be modified or removed as part of the ordered item set, and displayed at the kit or component level. Items can be defined to require serial numbers or lot numbers assigned to the sale, if you are required to track this information for reporting or potential tracing. When entering an item that happens to be out of stock, you can choose to redirect the sale to an alternate item if one has been set, or set the quantity for this item to be backordered. For backordered items, you can create a requisition transaction directly from the sales order, requesting a purchase to be made to fulfill this backorder, or if allowed, to process the purchase order yourself and assign the PO number to the backordered item. When the order entry is complete, you can save the order for future processing, perhaps with requirements to have over-credit customers or under-margin sales approved. Or if you are allowed, process the sales order now to creating a picking list for the warehouse and ready the order for shipping, or set the order to the next phase of your customizable sales order workflow. Shipped orders can have the tracking number entered and enable a direct link to the shipment provider's website for up-to-date shipping information. Perhaps you are a sales manager responsible for approving and processing sales orders, with rights for creating customer invoices. You can find out which orders are ready for processing by using a filter to focus down the list to just those you need to see. Or if you only need to find that one certain order from a large list, and maybe you don't have the order number or customer code to easily look for it, the smart search box can be used to search for sales orders for many informational fields at once, like name, city, contact, item description, alert notes, and more. Editing an order for a customer with an active alert will show a warning prompt at the top, which can be viewed or dismissed. Editing an order with back-ordered item stock now available to ship will prompt you on screen, so you don't have to guess or check whether or not the order can be fulfilled. You can even set the items as shipped from the prompt itself, or use the Fill Back Orders feature for all or selected items. As part of the order entry process, you may need to find out more before processing or shipping. You don't have to close the order and then locate the other information of interest. Instead, it may easily be available within the order. See other open orders for this customer listed, and even drill down to see the details, maybe to check for ordering patterns or duplication. Use sales history to check what you've charged this customer in the past for the items on just this order. Or open the customer inventory item records directly from the order. For categorizing or tracking orders, you can either increment or set the order phase, or set the order status to processed or shipped in order to best accommodate your workflow procedures. You can also create any number of user-definable fields to store any information not already available for entry, to assist you in maintaining or classifying records. When the order has been shipped and a customer invoice can be generated, this can be done easily. As allowed from security and customer terms, change the customer's credit limit, or take a payment with the invoice, or post the invoice to the customer's account for future payment, perhaps with a credit authorization override required for customers over their limit, or having other old and unpaid invoices. Perhaps you are the staff person responsible for processing back-end accounting. When you log into Spire, in addition to alerts assigned to you, you may also see any recurring receivables or payables transactions that are due to be processed. View, edit, or post the monthly utility or phone bill as a new vendor invoice, or create the entry for a customer pre-authorized debit directly from this pop-up screen. When you wish to take a customer payment for outstanding invoices, you can look for them either from the complete customer list or from the list of customers that have any open accounts receivable. Open the customer and select each invoice to be paid. You can highlight an invoice to investigate if there is something you want to verify prior to assigning the payment. Then choose to pay the selections and generate a payment receipt if desired, and post the payment for the customer, followed by the receipt printout or email. And when it comes time for generating financial reports in the general ledger, you may want to or need to analyze transactions posted to the chart of accounts. This can be easy to accomplish by listing the posted transactions in a grid, perhaps filter to those for a specific fiscal period or group of accounts, and then export the grid contents to an Excel file for external investigation. Or highlight a specific entry and view either the complete balanced entry or even view the source subledger transaction from where this entry came from. Another way to locate one or more records or transactions is to use the filter process for entering search criteria to display records that match. Filters provide the added benefit of saving the criteria to be used in the future without requiring to enter it every time you want it. Click the Filters button to reveal the criteria entry. Choose the field to search by from the complete list of fields in alphabetical sequence. The comparison and value selections are dependent on the chosen field data type. Numeric fields provide equal or comparison or range choices. Then just type in the value and tab out to generate the results. Text fields have the same comparison choices available, and longer description or address fields have contains or starts with choices. Date fields allow picking predefined daily, monthly, or annual values. Some fields have discrete choices that you can choose from. Additional criteria can be included by clicking the plus button. This presents a second field and criteria that works in the same way. Then choose to match either any or all criteria, where all needs every criteria to match, and any needs just at least one. The filter criteria can be saved for future use by clicking the black arrowhead next to the filter button. Choose to save as the standard default layout, or as a separate filter that can be selected when desired from the bottom of this drop-down list. Give the filter a unique description and set whether it is just for yourself or the entire company. Optionally, you can also allow this filter to be included under the module name if you plan to use it frequently, and also include the column layout along with the filtered rows. Saving this adds the filter to the selected places. On most key records and transactions throughout Spire, you can create any number of customizable field types and labels to include specialized information for your procedures or industry. When editing a record that supports these fields, open the User-Defined tab to see them. There will be one or more sub-tabs with as many extra fields as you specify, using different data types such as text, dates, numbers, and checkboxes. Fields can be defined to require a non-blank value, indicated by a star with the label, where an error will appear when saving if the value is blank. And some field types allow verification of the entered value, either to prevent typing certain characters or ensure it is within a specified range, or an error appears when an invalid value is used. If you have security rights to configure user-defined fields, you can see the UDF Properties button to create or make changes to these fields. The UDF Structure screen lists the fields already created, perhaps organized within separate pages that you specify. You can organize both pages and tabs by selecting, dragging, and dropping the object to the desired location. Edit an existing field in Properties, or create a new field. Each user-defined field requires a unique field name with no spaces or special characters for internal identification, and a label to best indicate to users what the field value is for. Choose the type of data you want to use. There are two different text field types for smaller or larger amounts of information. Text fields support straightforward value entry, or can be configured as a drop-down field where predefined values are selected. There are 4 different numeric field types that have different formatting for display, and all of them, except integers, allow setting the number of decimal place precision you require. There are also selections for date and Boolean checkbox fields. Whichever type you choose, you can set any to require non-blank values when saving the record. All user-defined field data types, except multi-line text and Boolean, allow setting validation or formatting choices to ensure that unexpected data is not saved, and these choices depend on the data type. For date fields, you can ensure that the value falls within a particular period, or warn if the value is later or earlier than today. For numeric fields, you can set minimum or maximum amounts to ensure the entry is within a range. And for text fields, you can assign a text mask to specify the number of characters and what each one can be, either by choosing a mask from the drop-down for common formats, or enter your own special layout, with alphabet character case forced to upper or lower if desired.
Inventory item records are maintained not only to store pricing and physical information, but also allow for defining specialized sales order preferences and tracking, and exploring historical purchase and sales transactions. Some information of typical interest can be found on the Details tab for purchasing costs and accounting, and the Prices and Units tab for additional prices and how item units are stored and sold. In addition, the Sales Tax Exceptions tab allow you to specify tax exemptions for your region, and the UPC tab allows configuring UPC codes for scanning barcodes in various transactions. And the Accessories tab allows defining additional items to automatically be sold alongside this item when added to a sales order.
There are many ways an inventory item can be configured that affects how items are purchased, sold, and tracked, in addition to the normal item type. A manufactured item is created from a group of raw material items determined on the Bill of Materials tab, which are consumed when this item is manufactured. A kitted item represents a collection of other inventory items defined on the Kit Components tab, which can be modified when added to a sales order. A macro item isn't technically an item at all, but a code that represents one or more inventory items defined on the Macro Substitutions tab that are instead added to sales or purchase orders when the macro item is selected. This can also be useful if an item is discontinued and the replacement is set as the macro substitution. Items can be chosen to store either serial numbers for each individual quantity on hand, visible from the Serial Numbers tab, or lot numbers assigned to groups of quantities, trackable from the Lot Numbers tab. Labels can be printed either for individual items or for warehouse bins or shelves as single labels. In addition to item information, you can also see outstanding and historical purchase orders and sales orders where this item exists, or movement of this item quantity across all transaction types. In all of these transaction list grids, you can double-click any of them to drill down and open the transaction screen. If you wish to make an identical change to a number of items, from the Inventory Item List grid, you can select multiple items, either consecutive or not, and click the Edit button to invoke the Group Edit Inventory window. From here, certain settings or default values can be set here and then applied to all selected inventory. There are a few other records that should be defined as you maintain your inventory. From the Inventory menu, sales departments are assigned to inventory items to define accounting for inventory at cost, sales revenue, and cost of sales. Warehouses may be used to configure multiple buildings where inventory items are stored and sold from. Product codes are assigned to inventory items to set minimum selling margins and surcharges. Sometimes inventory items require specialized tracking for warranties or service or product tracing. Spire allows maintaining serial or lot numbers for item purchases or sales. When editing an inventory item, you can specify that either serial numbers or lot numbers are required for transaction processing and inventory storage. Serial numbers are allocated for each individual item quantity in stock. Lot numbers can be allocated to groups of inventory quantities, perhaps for a receipt of a purchase order or an entire production run. Therefore, another selection choice for lot number consumption is necessary to determine which lots are used when selling this item. When items using either serial or lot numbers are purchased or sold, there is a separate tab that lists the numbers for inventory in stock and the transactions related to each tracking number. Lot numbers can have expiry dates stored or required, with the ability to change them here. And for any lot with associated transactions, you can trace where they were purchased, sold, or consumed in production, either from a pop-up screen or a report. Serial and lot numbers are not created within inventory item editing, but rather when purchasing and receiving or manufacturing the item. For purchases, the order status has to be either issued or received, so that received quantity value can be entered. For items that track either number type, either click the Serial Numbers button to open the entry screen, or enter the received quantity, which also opens this screen. From here, you can either manually enter the serial number or scan a UPC code to insert it. When this is saved, the serial number is displayed on screen for easy reference and can be modified if corrections are necessary. Lot number entry is similar, for the ability to enter the numbers manually or by scanning. Lot numbers can be auto-generated from the internally stored next available number. You also indicate the quantity of items that use the lot number, which doesn't have to be the full receipt quantity, and the expiry date for the lot, which can be calculated from the item. Enter enough lots and quantity to cover the full receipt amount, or a warning message will appear to indicate this. The optional Production Manager module also supports generating either tracking number type. When a manufactured item that supports this is produced, a serial numbers button is available to create numbers in the same way as purchase orders. When a sales order includes items with serial or lot numbers, they can be assigned automatically or manually. When the serial number button is clicked, or the item ship quantity entered is greater than 0, the serial number selection screen appears. Click the checkbox next to the chosen number from the list to match the quantity shipped, or manually type or scan the number to select. Saving the choice will display the numbers with the item. For items with lot numbers, you can follow the same process. Or the item may have a consumption rule to automatically assign lot numbers based on age or number. Similarly, for production orders, component items with lot numbers are consumed following the same rules as for sales orders. Other inventory transactions that involve quantity changes also support serial and lot number tracking. When transferring items, the serial numbers screen allows selecting the items being moved. When adjusting items, negative quantity adjustment requires selecting serial or lot numbers being lost, or positive quantity adjustment requires indicating new serial or lot numbers. When counting items, you may need to account for every serial or lot number separately, and the Count Serial screen allows entering stock counts by serial or lot number. When recording vendor payments or other transactions for accounting that don't require any further processing, these can be entered through the Accounts Payable module, or when editing a vendor and from the Accounts Payable tab. There are many transaction types you can create from here. The most common ones are payments and invoices not generated from purchase orders. For invoices, you only need to enter the transaction date and any other identifying information, including the terms code to determine the due date and any early payment discounts. The expense account comes from either the vendor or the company setting special purchases account. Then in the total field, enter the after-tax amount. The tax value and pre-tax subtotal will be calculated from this. The invoice entry is now ready to be posted, where you can choose to first review the ledger accounting activity. The other common transactions are payments on invoices. These are very easy to create. Just click the checkbox next to each invoice being paid, then click the Payment button to start the entry. If you wanted to investigate details about invoices that came from purchase orders, you can view the invoice and load that information. When processing the payment, enter the check number and indicate if a check or remittance form will be generated. Choose to pay only a portion of the invoice balance if desired, rather than the entire amount, for partially paid invoices. If an invoice has terms that allow early payment discounts, you can choose to take or remove that discount. Then you can post the payment and review accounting. Print the checks or remittance if requested. And now fully paid invoices are no longer displayed on this open list. You can also record vendor payments on account without assigning them to invoices. Create a new transaction and choose the payment type. Enter the amount of the payment and any other required information. Then post the transaction to the vendor. In the future, when this payment on account is meant to be assigned to an invoice, you only have to check both of these transactions and then click the Apply button to link them together. When a vendor has paid invoices in their history, you can choose to reveal them from the Show button, selecting only those from the past year or the entire history. The invoice list will now include invoices no longer outstanding, with the applied debits viewable to expand from the arrowhead, or from the Expand All button. Or you can list all payments by clicking the Show Debits button and expand applied invoices in the same way. If a posted transaction needs to be reversed, you can select it from the list and then click the Void button if user security allows this. Not only will this reverse the accounting for that transaction, but all paid invoices from voided payments will be restored as outstanding. From the accounts payable list, if you have a group of checks or charges to create, you can use a payment batch to generate the checks to pay all outstanding vendor invoices you choose, or generate an electronic fund transfer list of payments for outstanding payables for those vendors that are set up for EFT.
Thanks, Warren. That's it's a lot of Spire information. He was just wrapping up with overdue payments and how those are managed, but you get the gist of it there, folks. The recording cut off a little bit earlier. I apologize. I'll have to edit that for my next presentation. All of those videos, by the way, are available on our YouTube channel if ever you guys want to take a look at that. The folks at Pur-Logic can also go ahead and make sure that you have any additional information that you would like to have about anything that you saw during that demonstration. I want to just jump into a little bit of what you should be considering when you're making a move to Spire, or hopefully to Spire, but in anything that you're looking at these days. There's four main areas that one should consider, other than just how the software works, right? And in terms of the four areas, the first one is technology, and how current is that technology? Obviously, that's a theme for business vision users, antiquated versus current technology. But aside from that, how flexible is that technology? How scalable is it? What are your plans over the next 5 years for your business? These are questions that you should be asking yourself when you are looking at the technology. What's it written in? Is it written in a database structure that makes it nice and easy to integrate with solutions such as e-commerce or robust warehouse management, or even more complex production requirements in the manufacturing space? Sometimes we need integrations not just because of feature functionality, but because of processes that we have in place. And a modern technology will allow you to do that with an API and not necessarily writing directly to the database itself. The folks at Pur-Logic can help you take a look at that even more, but consider, the technology that you're considering investing in and what that looks like for you. The second area is really productivity, right? How long is it going to take your team to be equally or more productive than they were on the old software? And so that's an important question to ask. What is the learning curve like? How long is it going to take Susie at our office to enter in the 500 orders that she's used to doing? So the goal is to be more productive, of course, and there's much more automation available to you in the Spire world through either importing or integrations, where manual minutia-like tasks are significantly reduced. And so the goal there is to be more productive in that respect. Productivity should also be looked at the time of implementation. So you're going to want to talk to the folks at Pur-Logic about what is that migration going to look like? What, if any, downtime would there be? In the Spire world, from coming from BV to Spire, there's little to no downtime because Spire is able to convert that data from BV over to Spire. And in addition, that learning curve is significantly low. A lot of what you saw there just before probably felt familiar to you. So productivity, you want to look at that, ask those questions, and see if you will indeed be more productive, and I'm confident you will in Spire. And in terms of features and functionality, what you want to look at, and the way you kind of want to look at it, is what are your must-haves, what are your need-to-haves, and what are your wish-I-could-haves? And so with the must-haves, these are things that you currently are using, functionalities that you're currently using in your business vision software that you absolutely cannot live without. And then the need-to-haves are, what am I missing in my current software that I know is going to serve me so much better? I need to have this. I need to be able to scan inventory items into the system very quickly, not manually entering things. I need to be able to send AR statements in a batch to all of my customers that are 60 days past due in one felt swoop. I wish I had an order entry automation. And that might be a third-party developer when we talk about the different marketplaces that businesses are getting orders from now. Is it from your website? Do you take orders off of Facebook? Do you take orders off of Amazon? Do you take orders off of any other kind of platform, maybe EDI, right? Maybe you're dealing with the Walmarts of the world, and that order entry process is something you wish you could have to make your life better. So identify, must, needs, and wishes is a big part of evaluating functionality and features. And then the value, and I love the word value, it's always very relative to someone, but what is the usable lifetime value of this investment in the software? You folks have been using your current BV probably for a long time, so you understand the usable lifetime value of a software. How does that pertain to Spire? What are you getting every year for your maintenance on that? How much more, again, productive, how many hours have you saved, and have those hours been repurposed to generating revenue or more efficient processes at the end of the day? Consider the technology platform that you're going to have your Spire live on as well. How much use are you going to get out of a server that you may have just bought? Maybe you want to look at the cloud. So overall usable lifetime value around the software. So those four main components, aside from the debits and credits, as I say, is something that you might want to consider. We do have a handout for you, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, where we dive into these four topics a little bit more, and there is a self-evaluation component to that handout. I'm a big fan of evaluating ourselves and our situation, taking a good look at ourselves and seeing where we are in our journey of software procurement. So go ahead and download that. If you're not able to, I'm sure Matthias will be happy to send you a copy of it post-webinar. So the one other thing I want to touch upon, the reality, ladies and gentlemen, is that there's not one software out there today that is going to do absolutely everything that you need it to do. Just not the way it works anymore, unless you get someone to write you a custom application, and that'll cost you a lot of money. That's a whole other subject. But we partner with some of these great names that you see here on your screen. Some of them also did come from the BV world, so you may already be working with some of these developers and using some of their products integrated into your BV. And so these are folks that, what I refer to, enhance the Spire experience. Whether your needs exceed a feature that we have, whether your needs are very industry specific or process specific, and Spire is just a bit too general, some of these solutions would be very well worthwhile looking at. And again, our friends at Pur-Logic can help you with that. So, to wrap it up, what do our clients get? Well, they, they retain their data coming over from BV because of our data conversion tool. They have improved productivity, right? Production time, customer service time, order fulfillment time, AR cash flow time reduced, more access to meaningful data. It's such a trendy term, deep insight, meaningful corporate data. What does that mean? Well, at the end of the day, if you can anticipate how many orders you are going to need in order to fulfill a particular client request or a season that you have coming up, and your vendors are struggling to manufacture or ship out some of these, well, having insight into that expected amount, managing more than one vendor that maybe sells a similar product, having quick access to that, knowing your reorder points, these are all things that are meaningful corporate insight that you can then turn into active and proactive actions. And good software helps you do that. Room for process improvement. As we grow, so do our processes change, the way we take orders, like I talked about earlier before. And the big one is the less human errors. In an age where we talk about machine learning and artificial intelligence, sometimes people think, well, what's going to happen to my job? That there'll always need to be a human decision being made along the life of an order, okay? But less human mistakes, less typos, less wrong address selected, less wrong email address entered, quantities, prices, all that kind of stuff. When we can automate that stuff with contemporary software, we can reduce errors, improve response time, and all of that good stuff. So that's really where our clients have benefited from in a lot of ways, coming from BV to Spire. I will tell you that our #1 source of new Spire clients comes from other Spire clients, and that really speaks for itself. So we're very proud that our #1 source of referral is from happy Spire clients. If you're still using BV, you might know some other BV users that have come over to Spire. I encourage you to talk to them and see what their experience has been like. I want to just close off before I hand it back over to Matthias with just some free resources that are there to complement what the folks at Pur-Logic will be able to do for you if you do come over to Spire. And also these resources are available to you now as you explore Spire as an option for your upgrade path to BV. So we do have this all on our website. The user manual is there. We understand that not everybody learns the same way. Some of us need to touch things. Some of us need to hear things. Some of us need to look at things. We all learn differently. So there is a very useful digital user manual online. As I mentioned earlier, we have a great YouTube channel with short 10-minute videos. Some of them are compiled together, some of them are broken up in short increments of 10 minutes, easy for you to digest. Every now and then we do host some Spire webinars as well. You'll see those on our website. We do also have a free Spire Academy, and that is to, again, complement what the folks at Pur-Logic will provide in terms of training you. We'll provide very general information, but the experts at Pur-Logic are really the ones who are going to help you adapt Spire to your particular processes and functionalities and needs that you have within your organization. We do sometimes do some events. We will have some events this fall. We will be in the Toronto area, Winnipeg, and West Coast Vancouver area. So the folks at Pur-Logic will be able to share that information with you. And again, you can find all of that at www.spiresystems.com, the YouTube channel, just YouTube Spire Systems. And we'll always be happy to provide more information for you. And again, folks at Pur-Logic, thanks so much for having me here today. I'm excited about being partners with you guys and you being able to service your clients that'll hopefully come over to the Spire world. So Matthias, that's it for me. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Katie. And yeah, we also appreciate you having you with us today. I'm just gonna share my screen quickly again. You see my PowerPoint here?
I do, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. So as I said, now is time for questions. So if you do have any questions, feel free to write them in the question box, or you could alternatively, you could raise your hand. I could unmute your mic and kind of let you ask your question.
So Matthias, I'll just read some questions that came through while the presentation was playing.
Sure.
So one question was if there are any e-commerce integrations for e-com stores, and the answer is yes, there's quite a few actually. So whether you are already working with Shopify, if you're already working with WooCommerce, or if you have your own private website, privately hosted and whatnot, through Spire's API, either custom integrations to a custom website can exist, or we already have partners that have built those integrations to some of the more popular platforms out there. So the folks at Pur-Logic will be able to tell you who those partners are and take a look at what your current setup is or what you would like it to be if you don't have one already. But yeah, that is available. And then another question was, I have used BV for 10 years and have custom reports. How easy is the transfer process? So Spire has almost 200 built-in what we call management reports, and these are all built with Crystal reports, same reporting engine that exists in the BV world. And so most reports are easily transferable. It's a matter of just adding the company logo, maybe how you like to see certain things. When it comes to custom reports, you need to work with the folks at Pur-Logic so that they can examine your existing custom reports that you have and evaluate whether those already exist amongst the almost 200 reports that we have, or if they need to recreate those Crystal reports. One of the things that exists in Spire that you saw during the presentation is the ability to query and use the filters in any of the grids, whether that's sales, inventory, purchase orders, everything is in a grid, as you saw. And those queries and filters can be saved for quick access to those reports with the freshest data every time you launch it. So sometimes it may not need to be a custom crystal report that's recreated. Sometimes what you're trying to achieve can be done within the grids and the filters that exist, but the folks at Pur-Logic would be the ones to determine that for you.
And I believe we have one more question. Do you have bank downloads?
So by bank downloads, you mean being able to download your bank statement and upload it into Spire in order to do a bank reconciliation? Yes, most of the download statements are of a standard format. Spire receives, I think, 3 or 4 different bank statement download formats. And so it's quite nice. You'll have a double screen in front of you and you'll be able to hit reconcile, and the system will automatically start matching those transactions that it can obviously recognize. And then for anything that it did not auto match, you can simply drag and drop for a manual reconciliation. But yes, we do accept downloaded bank statements.
Okay, wonderful. If there aren't any other questions, that does conclude our webinar for today. And we do hope that it provided you with the appropriate information on Spire. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at Pur-Logic. And on behalf of our team at Pur-Logic, Katie, we thank you very much for being part of this webinar today.
My pleasure. It was great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. And folks, have yourselves a great day. Everybody stay happy and healthy.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to end the webinar now. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.